a shower, guys. He
lost
track of time. He's throwing on a shirt. Don't worry, I'm sure that's not going to be screen grabbed by anyone.
And instead of going for E5, C5 opens Sicilian with knight F3. Man, I gotta say, Jen, talk about relaxed, huh? I mean, what do you do before a game? Do you have butterflies in your stomach? No.
He's trying to button up his shirt. He knows that something he buttons his shirt and on camera, it's gonna go viral.
Exactly.
He's trying to do it off to the side. But can he get it? And there he is, and he is now here 20 seconds. Only 30 seconds. It felt longer to me, didn't it? It's stressful as a commentator when the players aren't there. You're worried they're not going to show up. So that was the longest 30 seconds.
That was bizarre. That was bizarre beyond belief. I've never seen that happen. Ever. We've never had that happen in commentary. It can only happen in online play, obviously. Jeez, guys, that is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems that there's something going on in the world of chess. Magnus is going to be involved, whether it's a disconnection, whether it's returning the point with fair play. I mean, I don't know. He's like a candle for a flame, and he's just attracting all of the things.
I mean,
and now we just, by the way, after knight E3, there was a little pause because bishop E7 and bishop A7 are the two main continuations. It seemed like Magnus wasn't absolutely sure which line of play he wanted, but he did play bishop A7 and quickly queen E2, and the players are still in their hymn books.
That's right, and we saw here. I prefer playing white in these types of positions because I have always played the open Sicilian and I never played this line of the Taimana, but it also looks pretty solid. My concern though is the D pawn. Usually if your bishop on E7, protecting that pawn, right? So now you have to be much more watchful of what happens after D1. And the good thing for black is it's actually not that easy to increase the pressure on that pawn, right?
Precisely.
A little bit of a backlog with your bishop on E3.
Right. I mean, you're not just putting final pressure on it. Also, with the knight on C3, the knight, I had just pointed out that a moment ago, knight E1 to D2 and knight C4, combined with the idea of A4 and A5, is a standard strategy for white in this opening. Instead, Hikaru went for the straightforward development with knight C3 and followed up with F4. The move F4 actually contained a little threat of playing E5. Keep in mind that this bishop on H7 and this rook on D1 already to ambush black's queen, which is why Magnus very quickly played E5.
Right, and by the way, the time advantage has extended. I mean, Magnus definitely seems a little rattled by, potentially this lateness. Over a minute edge for Hikaru. That's a lot in a Blitz game, especially when you're playing against Nakamura.
And Nakamura, by the way, tweeted about the small earthquake in California that he experienced yesterday. Apparently it was a 4.9 on the Richter scale. I mean, he said it seemed like it was definitely greater than that. But can you imagine when you're trying to play a chess tournament and an earthquake breaks? At least it wasn't during the game. But talk about odd things happening when we are all in different places in the world. Different things can happen to different players that normally they would all experience in the same place.
Yeah, I did hear about that earthquake, Maurice, and it's tough for somebody like Nakamura who's not a Californian. Probably that might have been he has visited Japan many times, but I don't know if he's experienced many earthquakes as an East Coaster. So hopefully he knew what to do. Didn't go run outside.
Just to show he's not he hasn't fully integrated the California life because earthquakes are pretty common. Bishop A7, there was a chance for Bishop G4. I was just looking at some line. But after some time, Magnus, who again kind of gifted away 30 seconds to start the game, did play rook takes A7 and immediately F5 on the board.
All right, let's see. F5 on the board, and Magnus obviously angling to play for D5 at some point. But look at his kind of have to hit right now for Nakamura. Carlsen doesn't seem to have found his rhythm, his blitz rhythm since showing up late. Rook d7.
I was about to say, I feel that this knight actually is misplaced, and for a moment there, I really wanted to go with my knight to e4, so that I will eventually put my bishop on the long diagonal. Rook a7 to d7 first, a very good move as well. As you mentioned, Jen, d6, d5 on black's agenda, and immediately occupying d5 is Hikaru with a move knight d5. And usually speaking, you want to take that knight, but in this particular moment, it seems like f6 might have me thinking twice, and that was why g7 was played at c4.
I mean, 7, and now Magnus is ponder about shattering. After knight takes I mean, how can this be good for black?
Well, this is general Sveshnikov territory. If you get to free tempi like King H8 or G8, you can just get that for free without white playing any moves at all. Then black generally consider itself okay. Problem is that pawn on f7 is tender at the moment, so you're going to have to somehow defend that before you can bring your rook to g7. And is Magnus down the tempi to be able to survive in this position?
King h1, I don't think that was necessary. Rook d3 and rook h3, rook d3, and you're over Jen, rook d3, rook h3, queen h5 look perfect. And black looked like he was in big trouble, and the king h1, king h8, rook d3 now on the board.
Still can't play rook g8. It's still not playable.
You still can't play rook g8, so you mentioned you have to defend that pawn on e8. I mean, I'm not thrilled about it, but so what am I playing e8?
I think that's coming over
Kind
again.
of sad, yeah. Rook h3 and now rook g8. But the problem is, okay, rook d8. And yeah, okay. I can't defend everything.
Well, it's going to be a challenge.
Well,
that's for sure.
this might allow d5 though. Careful. This might allow d5, and this break gives a chance. But forget about what we're analyzing. Magnus just sacrificed or e4 with the idea of going for d5. Look, Hikaru looking at this carefully, and Magnus's point is this fork.
But queen h4, queen h4 and king takes f6.
That looks crushing. That just looks instantly crushing.
And now our bishop's not even trapped. We can take on a6 if you needed to.
Or to start with knight c5. Knight c5 is playable, and you just can't do anything. But rook g1, rook g3 played instead, and Magnus
There it is.
resigned.
Yeah.
What did he just do? That's just incredible.
Not his best game. No, and he did not seem to get into the rhythm. It really threw him off that he must have had his clock set wrong. But let's move on as we do have